One, two, three. Three count four.
Hello, I am Be Better Gamer. Welcome to Be Better Gamer Wrestling. This channel is dedicated to my love and passion of wrestling video games. And today I am going to be talking about Wrestle Kingdom 12. Now obviously I will be playing Virtual Pro Wrestling 2, so a lot of the people that were in Wrestle Kingdom 12 weren't in Virtual Pro Wrestling 2 and vice versa. There were a few, mostly everyone was in the Battle Royal in the beginning that's still on the roster today. But the one big surprise for me right in the beginning of the event was Masahito Kakihara winning the Battle Royal, the New Japan Rumble match, whatever they call it. And so I figured, well, if I can talk about Wrestle Kingdom 12, and I usually like to use someone from the game from the event, and it's harder when it's modern events, but I figured let me do a Battle Royal with Masahito Kakihara, and then I'll just let that play in the background while I, talk about everything that I loved about Wrestle Kingdom 12, and there was a lot. So right now what you see me doing is, so you can't do, in WWF No Mercy, when you choose Royal Rumble or Battle Royal, you can choose the order everyone comes in, but you couldn't do that in WrestleMania 2000, you couldn't do that in Virtual Pro Wrestling 2, so a way around that is if you want to choose everyone that comes in is do Team Select. So that's what I did. I chose Team Select, and I basically just put my team, just myself, and then I just added to everyone others, team, so that I can choose just New Japan guys, because full disclosure, I was trying to record this just random, and I have the difficulty level on expert. It's still on expert for this run. And once the MMA guys show up, it's so hard to win, especially with this Battle Royal, with the rule set being that you can submit a guy, you can pin a guy, or you can knock him over the top rope, just like how the New Japan Rumble match is. Now, I'm not going to spend too much time on the New Japan Rumble match. It was technically like the pre-show for the event, but I do think it was a great way to start. It was a positive way to start, bringing awareness to, someone like Masahito Kakihara, someone like Yoshihiro Takayama. These are, legends in the sport of wrestling and also mixed martial arts in a way. And, they're going through really tough times. They're battling with cancer. Masahito Kakihara, he was as thin as cheeseburger. And, I think that puts things in perspective, because this is a guy, you look at older pictures of him, he was a specimen, he was a dangerous MMA fighter, really good at what he did. And, really capable wrestler, had a lot of success in All Japan and Noah. And, to see him beat cancer, see him survive, see him in there in that ring doing some of his, old moves was really cool. And then at the end, he put a Yoshihiro Takayama shirt. And now, I know a lot of fans are becoming more aware of what Takayama is going through because it's been publicized. But also, Fire Pro Wrestling just recently had the DLC pack where if you bought the Takayama pack, all the proceeds went to helping him fund his medical bills and the stuff he's going through. So I thought that was kind of cool. I thought it was an opportunity for New Japan to create awareness for something. It's interesting when wrestling events do that. WWE, they like to do awareness for breast cancer awareness month, the Susie B. Komen, all that stuff. So that was nice to see. It was a nice fun way, because really there's nothing at stake in the Battle Royal, so why not just have it a moment where you see all these great stars of past and present of New Japan in the ring, and they're kind of having fun, putting on a good little warm-up for the crowd. But let's get into the actual warm-up, not warm-up, but the first match, the start match of Wrestle Kingdom 12, Young Bucks against Roppongi 3K. I'm just gonna go through the list of the matches and just talk about the matches and how I felt. Some I'll spend more time than others. Here we go, starting off the Battle Royal. What a mix of a group. Shiro Koshinaka, Dr. Wagner Jr., and Tatsumi Fujinami, and of course I am playing as Masahito Kakihara. So let's start. Wrestle Kingdom 12. Roppongi 3K IWGP Junior Heavyweight Tag Team Champions against the Young Bucks. I had originally picked the Young Bucks to win this match, and they did. I went with my picks this year. I was going from my heart. I wasn't going from the mindset of trying to predict what's going to happen in terms of like the booking and storyline. I was going from my heart because I had a lot of anticipation for this event, because on paper the card was stacked, and you know, it was almost kind of like this is too good. All these matches have the potential to be too good, so it's not gonna be as good as it seems, right? So instead of just going from the mindset of like trying to predict what's gonna happen based on storyline and this and that, I went with my heart, and my heart said Young Bucks, because exactly what happened. They became 7-time IWGP Tag Champion, or Junior Tag Champion, I should say, in a great match, in a great opener. You know, I always get disappointed when people write off the Young Bucks as just being spot monkeys and they're just doing it for the highlight. They know psychology. They know how to tell a good story in the ring. The way they tell a story in the ring is a lot different than when you used to tell a story in the ring 15, 20, 30 years ago. But they still know how to tell a great story at what they do. And Roppongi 3K, for me, you know, if for them losing, I wasn't too upset, because it's like now it gives them something to chase. They're chasing after the best tag team ever in the history of New Japan, junior or heavyweight, you could argue. And I think it's just going to be more and more exciting. I don't know if they wrestled a lot when Roppongi 3K were in Ring of Honor, you know, when they were Tempura Boys, but it's going to be interesting to see what their future matches look like. I'm very excited. I hope the Young Bucks hold on to the titles for a while. And actually, before Wrestle Kingdom, I was listening to, I think it was the Jericho no, was it the Jericho podcast? I don't know, but Cyrus, he's on like so many podcasts now. He's all over the place now, and we'll get to him in a bit. But he was basically talking about how he thinks there are too many belts. Oh yeah, it was the Jericho podcast, because they were talking about if there's too many belts in New Japan, and they basically said yeah, and I agree. I think there's too many in all promotions, just like Cyrus said. And he said that they should do away with the IWGP Junior Heavyweight. He doesn't see a purpose of it. And you know, they said, well, what happens when you have, you know, the Young Bucks versus, you know, KES? And it's like, well, it's like, you know, Legion of Doom against Midnight Express, you know. And I would like to see that, honestly. I think the Young Bucks are at a point in their career where they've done it all in the junior heavyweight division. They are doing more than anyone else has ever done as a tag team, or even certain solo wrestlers. They're way more popular than ever before. I would like to see them sort of move up in the heavyweight division. I know New Japan is kind of iffy about that, but look at who the headliners were this year. Naito was from the junior heavyweight division. Omega is from the junior heavyweight division. Jericho was a cruiserweight. I mean, you know, Okada was trained by Ultimate Dragon. I mean, he's not a junior heavyweight, but still, I think it's nice to have a class for junior heavyweights, but when it comes to the tag team, I think it stretches that division a little too thin. And I would like to see the Young Bucks move up, even Roppongi 3K, you know. I mean, you know, Beretta just, you know, and Rocky Romero split, and now Beretta's in the heavyweight class, if you will. So I would like to see the Young Bucks possibly take this further as a next stepping stone, that they are feuding, because they can hold the Ring of Honor championship, tag team championships, and feud with heavyweights. Why can't they do that in Japan? That's what the first match did for me. It just made a point that the Young Bucks are the best tag team in the world, and they should be on a higher platform, honestly. Wrestle Kingdom 8, 8. They're 7 times champions. That's where I'm getting 8 from. But Wrestle Kingdom next year, if they're still there, I want to see them higher up on the card, honestly, because that first match was great. And, you know, it was probably my favorite match up until more than halfway later on of the night. So let's move on. We got the 6-man tag team title 4-way gauntlet match. And this is what we're talking about with too many titles. I love all these teams in here. I like the Bullet Club. I like Chaos. Taguchi Gun, if you will. Juice Robinson, Taguchi, and Makabe. Suzuki. I like Zack Sabre Jr. Let's leave it at that. War Machine, Michael Elgin. But 6-man tag team championship, I don't know. I've never been sold on it ever since they debuted it like a couple of years ago. It changes a lot, especially for a newer title. It's already changed hands so many times. And then even on New Year's Dash, it changed again the next night. I was rooting for Bullet Club. I was rooting for Bad Luck Fale, Tama Tonga, and Tonga Loa because I like them as a unit. I think they're really cool as a unit. And they didn't win, but then they won the titles back the next day. So this match, unfortunately, in hindsight already within the day, doesn't really matter anymore in that sense. So that was kind of disappointing the day after. But presently, watching it, it was fun. I felt like they were given a lot more time than usually the gauntlet matches are given. Everyone was showing really good effort. So yeah, it was solid. It was solid gauntlet 6-man tag team match. The best you can do, I guess, with a match like that. It's going to be interesting to see what they do with all these guys because, like a WrestleMania, like a major pay-per-view, when a company does an event, they want to get all their guys on the roster, at least some sort of spot on the card. That's why you have a match like this. That's why you have the Rumble match. And it's nice to see him out there, but I really would like to see what 2018 has in store for Juice Robinson, for Beretta, for Tama Tonga and Tonga Loa and Bad Luck Fale. War Machine won't be there, obviously. They're moving on to WWE, but the rumors have. Michael Elgin, he's dealing with some issues right now. Hopefully they can get them all sorted. Zack Sabre Jr., I want to see him back, fighting for one of the second championships, third championships, whatever. There's too many championships. But I want to see him back in there. Hopefully he'll be at the G1 again this year because he had some really good matches last year. But that one was that. Here's Manabu Nakanishi. He's a current New Japan, and he was in the New Japan Battle Royal this year. So we have Cody Rhodes, Cody, don't call him Rhodes, versus Kota Ibushi versus Brandy Rhodes. How much more intriguing would this had been if it was still for the Ring of Honor Championship? I don't know what the decision was to take the title off of Cody right before Wrestle Kingdom. I mean, I like Dalton Castle. I thought it was great for him to win the championship, but this match was great. This match was great, and if they didn't have all these other matches to follow afterwards, this would have been a great main event match for another, even New Japan event. If the Ring of Honor title was on the line, it could have been a great headline event for a Ring of Honor event. Cody Rhodes is really... I could see Cody Rhodes within the next couple of years being the top heel in all of wrestling, especially with Brandy Rhodes. I mean, they obviously husband and wife, they have great chemistry, but what a great team, the work they're doing, the spot where Kota Ibushi checked on Brandy and then Cody hit him and then they're just laughing at him. It was perfect. Cody Rhodes, is so funny because he can do that old school style of wrestling, but then when he has a guy with Kota Ibushi, he can keep up with the pacing. And looking at while I was watching this match, I was thinking, I was like, I wonder if Cody's facing Ibushi because subliminally he's facing Ibushi because of Kenny Omega, and then the next day on New Year Dash we had that whole bit where Cody was upset that he lost to Kota and he's gonna beat him up with the rest of the Bullet Club, and Kenny came out and the fans lost it. I lost it. I went nuts for that. So I'm interested to see where this goes, to see this sort of love triangle, if you will, with Cody, Kota Ibushi, and Kenny Omega. I think it might actually help bring Cody to the forefront. He keeps getting higher and higher up the card when he comes to New Japan. Obviously, he's a big star over here in the States and in Ring of Honor. I want to see where he goes. I really like the match. I really like both of them. I mean, they're going to be... I wouldn't be surprised if they're going to be big-time headliners for New Japan in the future, because what they did at New Japan... let's not have them overshadowed by all the other great matches that happened. It was a really good, really solid match. And even if they were given 5 more extra minutes, I think they would have put on an instant classic everyone would still be talking about. I just want to take a brief moment to mention that Kazuya Yamazaki is in the ring. And how funny was that? The UWF music played and it cut to Yamazaki. He's over there commentating. He gets up wait, should I go in? Is that for me? And then Masahito Kakihara comes in because they're both UWF allies and alumni. So that was really neat to see. Again, just those little things that make events, matches that you would think are a throwaway, It's the little things usually that help you remember them. Like, I mean, we all remember the Andre the Giant Battle Royal that Cesaro won, not because we all love Cesaro, but because the way he won and the little detail of him slamming, you know, the Big Show over the top rope, you know, harkening back to Hulk Hogan slamming Andre the Giant. Sometimes it's the little details, little things that help you remember these matches that, you know, there's no title at stake, everyone's in there, there's no real storyline to it, but sometimes you can do these little details that help, you know, bring more attention and make you remember the match in a more fond way. So I just wanted to bring that up because I thought that was a neat little spot. Next we have the IWGP Tag Team match. Killer Elite Squad versus Los Ingobernables de Japón, Evil and Sonata, the winners of the tag tournament that just went on, the Tag League tournament. And I was rooting for KES only because I'm glad that they're back, and I get a lot of like Stan Hansen, Bruiser Brody vibes from this time back, when the way they harass the audience and the way they just beat everyone up and they're no nonsense. But you know what? It makes sense that Evil and Sonata won. I like Evil and Sonata a lot. They had one of my favorite matches at the G1. Obviously, you know, Sonata and Evil this year have really, like, when you look at guys on the roster, like, all right, they're going to be like main eventers in New Japan one day. I look at both these guys. I remember when Sonata first joined Los Ingobernables. I really wasn't familiar with him, and now I love him. I love him in Evil too. Evil has really shown how great of a worker he is. So I'm excited to see what they do with the Tag Team Championship. Again, the Tag Team Championship and the Junior Tag Team Championship are such an interesting place because it sort of thins out the roster, because then there's all these other championships running around. But I think Evil and Sonata, you know, KES, I think they could keep feuding for the title for a bit, but I want to see this tag team division really be built around Evil and Sonata having great matches with whoever their challenges are, so that when they do break out for those single runs, you know, the tag team championship, the tag team division is all the more better for it. You know, I hope they elevate the division is what I'm trying to say, I guess. And you know, these are Evil and Sonata winning the championship. To me, like, these are Los Ingobernables are babyface, right? Like, they're no longer tweeners. We're no longer like, oh, they're good guys, they're bad guys, but everyone thinks they're cool. It's like they're a babyface faction, and I think Evil and Sonata winning proves that this is a babyface faction. So I'm excited to see what they do with it. Good match. What I liked about Wrestle Kingdom this year was a lot of diversity in the matches. A lot of the matches had a different style and pacing from the one before it and the one after it. You know, KES, they come out, they hit their finishing move right away, and they're just, for the rest of the match, they're just on top of Evil and Sonata, just pounding them and beating the crap out of them. And then, you know, Evil and Sonata, they persevere and they come through, and it was great. It was a fun match. Next up, we got the Never Openweight title, which was my runaway sleeper hit match of the night. You know, obviously I'll get to what my favorite match of the night was, but if you tell me one match that I didn't think would have the potential to being one of my favorite matches of the night, it would have been this match. Not because I don't like Suzuki and Goto. I like Suzuki and Goto. I like them a lot. But I wasn't as invested personally into this match as a lot of the other matches. You know, I thought their feud kind of came out of nowhere. Hair versus hair seemed like a gimmick just to slap on, because honestly, the Never Openweight title, to me, is a belt that's just floating around, even with Suzuki holding it. Again, too many titles, but that's a whole nother Let's Play episode. But this match, the storytelling in this match was so good. Again, on any other event, any other night, this could be a main event. People will talk about this for months, you know, and unfortunately there's so many other matches here that overshadowed it, but I loved this match. I loved the way how vicious Suzuki was. I loved the selling of Goto and how you really thought this dude was getting murdered in the ring by Suzuki, giving more power to Suzuki. I love the finish of Suzuki just slapping the hell out of Goto, and it's like, just stop already, stop. It's like that Simpsons thing, like Ralph, like, stop, he's already dead, like, but it made you feel that much more for Goto. and for him to win it. And then Suzuki, so badass, him coming back to the ring with his chair, knocking the other chair, sitting down, grabbing the electric shaver, shaving his head, grabbing his clump of hair, slamming it down on the chair, and just giving Goto that death stare. But like, the honor, the pride in Suzuki as this villain, like, you couldn't, like, I just wanted to cheer. I was like, oh my god, this is awesome, this is amazing. Minoru Suzuki is like, what, in his 50s? The dude wrestles like he's in his 30s. He's a legitimate killer. I mean, MMA legend like no other. Shows no signs of slowing down. G1 almost stole the show with him and Okada. I'm so excited to see what they do with Suzuki this year. It's good that he's going after Tanahashi. Hopefully he'll be the one to take Tanahashi out, if you will, so Tanahashi can go recover and rest up from his injuries. But yeah, man, Suzuki is a man to be feared, and even with losing this match, I was more afraid of him than ever. Because, like, now he's pissed. Alright, now he's pissed. Like, how dare you make me shave my own head? Oh, it was brilliant. It was great. I loved it. Favorite match, if none of the other, if the main event matches didn't exist. Favorite match of mine, you know, number 3 favorite match for me, I gotta say. And that's hard to say because the next match up was the 4-way junior heavyweight title. Marty Scurll, Hiromu Takahashi, Kushida, Will Ospreay. What a beautiful match. What a beautiful match. And the only reason why this isn't my 3rd favorite match is because, you know, hot take, it didn't have the emotion of Suzuki and Goto or Jericho Omega, Okada Naito, which we'll get to. But it was still an amazing match. Again, if this wasn't Wrestle Kingdom, you know, match of the night, one of the best matches ever. We'll be talking about it for months. You know, one of the best matches of the year. Great timing on all the spots and executions. I think the thing about this match was that I didn't have a horse in the race. I think I predicted Takahashi just because I just flipped the coin. You know, I would have been happy if Kushida won. I would have been happy if Will Ospreay won. I would have been happy if Marty Scurll won. And that's a good and a bad thing because you go into it, you're like, yeah, I love all these guys. But every now and then, I guess you want someone to root against or to really root for. So I'm happy that Ospreay won again. I'm excited to see Takahashi chase for it. You could tell he's going to be the babyface chasing for it. Again, Los Ingobernables, they're babyfaces now. Kushida was sort of in the background. You know, he had some really good moments, but I think Marty Scurll, Takahashi, and Ospreay had a lot of the key memorable moments of this match, and I don't think that says anything about Kushida, but I just think that shows how far the junior heavyweight division has come in the past few years. So I think that's exciting to me. The fact that you have Kushida, who I think is one of the best junior heavyweights around, sort of in the background, just hanging out, shows how strong this division is, and hopefully you could just keep getting better and better. I'm excited. The future of the IWGP junior heavyweight division looks great. Next up, we got Tanahashi and Jay White. Probably the match I was really anticipating, that was ended up being the most underwhelming. It was a perfectly fine match. Again, on any other day, this would have been a nice match, fine match, but this is Wrestle Kingdom. They hyped up Jay White so much coming in to attack Tanahashi, and then the match was just okay. The match was just okay, and in any other context, it would be like, yeah, whatever, you know? But in this context, it's like, well, what are they doing with Jay White, you know? Was he going to come in and beat Tanahashi? Yeah, maybe. I predicted he would, because it's like, why else would you build him up like that? But he didn't, and I understand why. But the match kind of fell flat. And then afterwards, New Year's Dash, you had Omega offering Jay White to join Bullet Club, and then he attacks Kenny Omega, and then he joins Chaos, and it's like, all right, well, what's going on? What's going on with Jay White? Switchblade, he wants to murder Tanahashi, but then now he's like, I'm gonna hang out with Chaos, I'm gonna hang out with Okada and them. You know, it's just, I don't know what they're trying to do with Jay White. A little underwhelming, everything. Perfectly fine match. I don't really have anything bad to say about the match itself. I guess I was just expecting more. And to say the least, that I was expecting more from Kenny Omega and Chris Jericho. I mean, they went above and beyond what I was expecting. That was a match that, oh man, favorite match of the night. Going into Wrestle Kingdom 12, I thought Okada Naito was going to be my favorite match of the night. And I guess I could talk about both matches simultaneously because, it really was the double main event. It really was, two excellent matches to close out this show that was already excellent. That had a lot of good wrestling, had a lot of good storytelling, and very little low moments of the night. But Kenny Omega and Jericho, man, they're both on a whole other level. Not just within New Japan, within the whole world of wrestling. I mean, Kenny Omega showed us what he's capable of with his series of Okada. Jericho has shown us his whole career what he's capable of. He's so good. But this was a match that had so much passion and emotion in it. Not just from the fans and everyone screaming their heads off, but from the wrestlers themselves. You could tell these guys wanted to tell an amazing story that just left you loving wrestling at the end of the day. You know what I mean? This was an old school bad guy being the most bad he can be, trying to beat up the good guy who's trying to make the comeback, and had some very innovative spots. Forgot about the table. That's how you know when you do a table spot well, is when you forget about it. When Jericho was beating up the ref's son outside, oh man, I leaped from my couch. It was so good. It was so brilliant. Here I go winning with Masahito Kakihara, but I haven't talked about Jericho and Omega enough, so maybe I'll have to extend this a little bit longer with a Jericho match. Let's get a Jericho match loaded up because I just did a call with Jericho uploaded yesterday actually, so let's do Jericho and someone. Who should we do? I did Jericho versus Ultimate Dragon. I don't have a Kenny Omega call yet. Who should I do? You know what? I guess I'll just switch gears right here and I'll go back to I was playing the Japanese version of Virtual Pro Wrestling 2 off of my Japanese N64 cartridge, but I'm gonna switch off to the English translation patch where I made Chris Jericho, or where I made my Chris Jericho CAW, only because I want to give enough time to talk about both these two matches and what they meant to me over the past couple of days watching them and getting geared up for Wrestle Kingdom 12 and the state of wrestling. It's just so much. It's amazing. When I watch shows like this, I'm reminded why I love wrestling. There's such an emotional connection I have with wrestling from watching it as a kid to now. And even though I know so much stuff and I read everything behind the scenes, this and that, smart mark, whatever, I still get so emotionally invested sometimes in the matches. And that's when I know a match is good. When I'm watching a match like Jericho Omega and I forget about it all. I forget about the Twitter feud. I forget about Cyrus, and Jericho talking on his podcast, talking about how they put the match together and all the fourth wall breaking stuff. I forget about everything and I'm watching two characters in front of me telling a story. Because that's how I view wrestling. To me, that's what the true art form of wrestling is. It's about these two characters, facing off against each other, telling a story. Like any other medium, like any other art form, what is the story? What are we watching? What are we listening to? And the big takeaway for me was that, Chris Jericho is the greatest of all time. Not like, just like, I speak in hyperbole a lot. I speak in hyperbole a lot. But to me, honestly, and I think I mentioned this in my Virtual Pro Wrestling 2 call video of Chris Jericho, people always ask me, who's your favorite wrestler? Who's your favorite wrestler? Because they know I love wrestling so much. Who's your favorite wrestler? And it always switches. Sometimes it's Jericho. Sometimes it's Bret Hart. Sometimes it's Rob Van Dam. Sometimes it's Liger. It depends on the day, I would eventually say. It depends on the day. Ask me tomorrow and it'll be different from who I'm saying today. And I would go through like 20 different names because wrestling is so big. Wrestling spans decades and I haven't watched it all. I started watching at a very young age, and even in the almost 30 years of watching wrestling, I still haven't seen it all. There's so many great international wrestlers and superstars from Japan and Mexico and Europe. Like, So when you try to think about all of that, when someone asks you who your favorite wrestler and you have all that knowledge and information, it's like, I don't know, I love them all, right? I love them all, but I don't know. After watching that match, and I might just be caught up in the moment. After watching that match, it's like, Chris Jericho is my favorite wrestler. Like, he has to be. He has to be, right? Because he is reinventing himself. He is competing with one of the best wrestlers of today, and he is standing in that ring, and it seems like Chris Jericho is just getting started with another run. You know what I mean? It just seems like Chris Jericho is in his prime. And it could be a one-off thing. Obviously, if Jericho was wrestling every week, you know, maybe the chinks in the armor would show itself, but you can't take away the fact of everything that he's been done and the fact that it was in Japan. And Jericho was right. He was talking about how it being in Japan made it almost mythical. That was his word he chose, and I thought it was a great word to choose. Mythical. There's an aura about competing in Japan. And as I was making his call and as I was doing research for the event, I was looking at some of his old stuff in Japan that I watched when I was younger, and it still does have that mythical aura. It's like, oh, here's Jericho in Japan, you know? And I guess it's mythical to me or fans like me who don't live in Japan, because it's not the norm. So I guess anything outside of the norm is mythical, right? But I don't know, there's still something about in the world of wrestling. It's different from like Mexico, it's different from Canada, it's different from Europe. Japan has this uniqueness to it in the style and presentation and who has, you know, become stars there, and the kind of wrestling that goes on there, and especially coming off of, you know, their whole feud. In the feud, it was, you know, Jericho was like, oh, you know, forget about your 6-star matches, your 5-star matches. This is a fight. This was a fight, and I don't do star ratings, but this was like a 5-star fight, right? It's like, this wasn't a fight. This was storytelling at its most supreme. All the payoffs were there. Everything that sort of weaved its way into the feud came back. And I rooted for Jericho when I was doing my little Twitter, you know, predictions. Again, I was coming from the heart, and from the heart, I'm more of a Jericho fan than an Omega fan. I love Kenny Omega. He's one of my favorite wrestlers today, but I've been watching Jericho since I was a kid. So, of course, I'm going to root for Jericho. And also, but with that logic of, you know, I was breaking my own rules, with the logic of, well, if Jericho wins, they can do another match. You know what I mean? Let's not just have one match. And, you know, even though they were promoting it one time ever, you know, one time only, dream match, this and that, but I wanted more. Even when I was seeing the match, I wanted more. And I don't know, like, it's funny, I don't have that same feeling. After watching that match, I was like, no, that's it. I don't have to see them again. I don't have to see them fight again. This is it. If this was one night only, this was the best dream match I have ever seen. I don't need to see him come back. I saw it. This is it. This is exactly what I wanted to see. It was more than exactly what I wanted to see. It blew my expectations, as I think it did a lot of people. And, you know, it just solidified how great they are. And, you know, to say I wasn't shocked, I was shocked when Jericho showed up the next day on New Year's Dash. You know, I was a little bit anticipating him to show up, but I thought maybe they would do like a thing where he comes out and shakes hands with Omega and they show respect. But they didn't do that. I'm glad they didn't do that. Instead, Jericho comes out and attacks Naito, okay? Which, again, turning Naito babyface, because Jericho's full-fledged heel in Japan right now, and I love that. I love that, yeah, everyone knows it's Chris Jericho back in Japan, it's a big moment, but he is committing to this character of who he is, that in Jericho, he's a heel. He's bitter, he's angry, people aren't appreciating him as much as they should, you know, like, and it's like, it's great. It's great. He's got his inferiority complex that's out of nowhere almost, and I love that he's committing to it. So he's attacking Naito, and I think back to the podcast where, again, him and Cyrus were talking, and Jericho was like, yeah, I met Naito. He kind of big-leagued me. And I was like, ooh, does Jericho not like Naito? What's going on? But maybe, again, the planting of the seeds, that Jericho's so smart. And Naito, so a lot of people wanted Naito to win against Okada. I predicted Okada was going to win because, again, going for my heart, I'm more of an Okada fan than Naito fan. I love them both. I think New Japan wouldn't be where it is today without either of them. But I'm going to root for Okada. I'm an Ultimate Dragon nut. He's a student of Ultimate Dragon. I'm an Okada fanboy. What can I say? If I had to choose, and I had to choose one, I chose Okada. If Naito won, would I have been upset? No, I would have been happy. I think it would have been great if Naito won. But again, we're talking about Japan being this mythical place, and I don't even think it's all that mythical, because I think what Japan does, especially what New Japan is doing right now, is that they are doing a lot of the things you used to see in wrestling that you don't see anymore. You know, Jericho and Omega was sort of an old school feud, very simple, few promos, few, mixes outside of the ring, and then they kept everything in the ring. Very simple story. You go back and watch a lot of the 80s era wrestling, Jericho Omega would have fit right in. The only difference is that, the moves. The moves are a little bit more modern. You wouldn't have seen 3 dragon suplexes in a row, And Okada is an old school champion. He is a winning champion. There's a reason why I think they wanted him to break Hashimoto's record, because I think they want people to make the relationship with Okada being the modern champion of today, but being sort of an old school champion as well. Like, he is the best in the promotion. That's the story. He is the best. So he only has up to go, so that when he does finally get knocked off that perch, it's a big moment. And it might be Naito knocking him off. It's just Naito didn't do it right now. It has shades of what Okada had to do to beat Tanahashi. Just the circumstances are a little different. And if that means we're getting another Wrestle Kingdom main event with Naito next year, if the roles are reversed, hey, sure, why not? I'm not going to complain. These guys, when they get in the ring, they have great chemistry. The fans come off their feet, which is still a sort of a rare thing for Japanese audiences. Yeah, Japanese audiences compared to today and back then, they're a lot more vocal now, but the way they reacted for Naito and Okada, you could see how passionate they are about both these guys, and I love it. And Okada, he's brilliant, man. He took a drop kick and he made it like one of the best moments in all his matches. When he pulls that drop kick, you're not expecting it. We're like almost half an hour in, I think, right? I don't know, I wasn't keeping track of the time, but he pulls that drop kick out of nowhere again. It's like an RKO out of nowhere, right? But it's a drop kick, and I was like, oh, he got him. Like, oh, the drop kick, I forgot about it. Like I forgot about the drop kick. And that's the thing. It's the little things, the details, the subtle things. I do think that maybe he should have introduced a Cobra Clutch somewhere along G1 or something. I know that he had to lose to Naito first so that he could come up with a counter for it, but a lot of the emotional weight that comes with Okada's wrestling is his moveset, and the Cobra Clutch isn't there yet, but I think it will be. Anyway, that's a little tidbit, not even a gripe, just a little detail that I noticed that they're trying to work out. But I think also this, and no one has really talked about it, because they're just assuming this just means more of Okada being great and being Okada. I have a feeling this might be a double turn. Like, I think we'll get to a moment where you see, again, Naito's already sort of a babyface, and Okada's still technically a babyface, but he's got that cocky arrogance to him that I wouldn't be surprised if I see him turning heel once he really truly feels that his position is threatened. And I think that's something they can do differently than what they did with Okada Tanahashi, because it was really just Tanahashi, Okada eventually just beating Tanahashi, but Tanahashi never really turned heel. He never really turned ultra aggressive. And I kind of want to see that from Okada, because I know he's capable of it. And again, it'll start a new chapter for him, as being this dominant champion who was finally dethroned, and now he's pissed about it. But Naito Jericho, man, I wonder when they're going to do that. I wonder if they're going to wait till Long Beach, or if it's going to be even later on in the year. WrestleMania is right around the corner. In a way, really it is. In a few months it'll be here. And so a lot can change, between now and then. If Naito's going to be feuding with Jericho in the immediate future, then I wonder who's Okada's first challenger is going to be. Los Ingobernables standing strong at New Year Dash was a little confusing at first, but until Jericho ran out. But yeah, I'm interested to see where everything's gonna lead, because it just seems like, I thought it couldn't get better than Wrestle Kingdom 9, and then ever since then it's just kept getting better and better every month, every year with New Japan. They're just on fire right now. I'm excited to see what they're gonna do when they come back to the US. I'm excited to see what's gonna happen when we get around the middle of the year with G1 and we start working our way to next year. And it's only still January, and I'm already thinking about next year. But that's how excited this event, made me. So I hope you got a chance to watch it. If you're watching this and you haven't watched it, why? Go watch it. Don't listen to a review for something you haven't watched. But if you did watch it and you're watching this, let me know what you think. Let me know what you thought about the matches. What were your favorite matches? What are you most excited about in 2018 from New Japan, or wrestling in general? So yeah, I'm interested to see. I'm Be Better Gamer. I think I talked long enough. Thank you for watching. As always, keep watching all the wrestling. Thank you.